So I've come back to the East Worthing wastewater treatment plant run by Southern Water, and actually we could smell it today before we could see it, but they have improved their act on some of the odours. I just wanted to report back on the visit I made to the headquarters of Southern Water and their main operations monitoring centre, because obviously lots of questions are always arising about what sewage spills are still going on, how clean the sea is. So I asked to go and see how they monitor all of this in their control room, particularly their Beachbuoy system. Now that is the monitors that they've got on all their outflows. Because of government legislation now, by the end of this year, 100% of all outflows have to have these monitors on, so we can see when there have been spills as to whether they're justified, normally because of very sudden heavy rain, and it's mostly rainwater, or whether they're not justified, in which case the water companies can be penalised. And I've recorded videos before about the enormous amount of extra regulation now on water companies, where they are much better monitored, much better inspected, they're fined, bonuses paid to chief executives can be banned, dividends being paid to shareholders can be banned if they've got a poor track record, particularly with pollution. Now I get almost daily Surfers Against Sewage, which is a good organisation that I've done a lot with in the past, reports that they passed on to constituents about sewage spills allegedly in my constituency, particularly around Sharon Beach and Lancing. We've had lots of reports, and I get those quite often, and a flood of them. So I asked, well, are these accurate? And I've actually taken up a number of specific ones with Southern Water. It turns out that a lot of them are not accurate, because these monitors apparently are quite sensitive and can be triggered by all sorts of other things that are not sewage, including marine life and things like that, which threw up a whole load of question marks. And even though Southern Water will investigate everyone and put up on its Beachbuoy real-time website as to whether it's a genuine spill or not, what they're doing about it, Surfers Against Sewage don't necessarily update that information on their own website. So I've asked the question, and I'm waiting for the data to come back. How many of these notifications actually then turn out to be false alarms? And that's one bit of information I will pass on. The number of call-outs they've had recently has a lot to do with other connections into Southern Water's main system that aren't the responsibility of Southern Water. I've asked to go out on one of their teams to see how those work. So how much should we be blaming Southern Water for some of these leaks, and how much should we be blaming other developers, utility companies, or whatever it may be. Then I also asked about the quality of the seawater and river water. Who samples it? Is that down to the local council? Is it down to the Environment Agency? How much of it is done by Southern Water themselves? So I've asked for more information about that, how that works, make sure it's independently assessed and so on. And I've asked to go out to see some of their sampling actually going on in practice. And then the other thing, and I'll put more details about this, they're spending, so they told me, £2.5 billion between now and 2025 on upgrading their system. That is, to coin a phrase, going to be a drop in the ocean as to what they need to be spending for separating wastewater pipes from sewage pipes, which is what they said ultimately they want to do. So I put them under the spotlight. I've asked a lot of questions, and I'll pass that information on. The other issue I've taken up with them, which is a bugbear of mine, is roadworks, where Southern Water seems to be one of the worst offenders for digging up the road, putting out traffic lights and lane closures, when actually they're not necessary in many cases, and a bit of smarter management could do away without traffic lights and all the congestion that causes. And I've called them out on a few things where they've said, oh, it's an emergency leak, and it turns out it's not. So they provided me with a list of all the road closures that they've done in my constituency since the beginning of the year, and it's quite a big list. But now they have promised to go away and look at some of the incidents on the A259 around Lancing and around Bywater in particular, which have caused a lot of annoyance and chaos to constituents, to see whether they could have been done differently and how they can approach those differently in the future. And there's every incentive to do that, because under the new lane charging scheme that the County Council has brought in, they can be charged up to £2,500 per day for traffic works causing road closures as well. I've also been taking this up with UK Power Networks and other offenders, but Southern Water are the first ones in the frame. So I put them under the spotlight, I've been to see them, I'm going to keep on their case, and I'll give all the responses and the extra data I've asked for, publish it on my website and a follow-up video in due course.